Hey guys, we're going to review these three different types of pencils. Wolff's Carbon 4B, the Marie's Soft, and the Conte Paris 1710B. And we're going to use the same paper. This is Smooth Newsprint by ProArt. We're going to use the same paper for each of these three demos. So I'm really interested to see how these pencils match up against each other. I'm really used to the Conte Paris 1710B. I've been using this for about 10 years, maybe more. The Wolff's Carbon I've been using probably for about 8 years. So I'm really familiar with these two pencils. The Marie's Soft, I'm brand new to it. So we're going to do a scorecard on all three and see how they match up together. And then I'll talk about my experience drawing with these. So anatomy of a pencil. The terms I use are lead, wood, body, and butt. And I know that the lead isn't actually lead, but that's just the term I'm using. I know it's not lead. It's a mixture of things like clay, graphite, charcoal, whatever. But for this video, I'm going to use the term lead. I'm going to use the term wood for the next section, and then body, and then the butt. Okay, so let's run through the smudge test, fine lines, the blackout, and the erase test. I'm going to save the weight and the price and sharpening for last. So let's start off with the smudge test with the Wolff's 4B. So I'm just going to sketch out a little square. And then we'll do the Marie's. And then the Conte Paris. So let's do the smudge test. First, I'm going to try the palm as if my hand just pulled right through it. So I cleaned my hand, and now I'm going to do the same test on the Marie's. Okay, with a clean hand, now let's do the Conte Paris. So pretty much looks really similar between the Wolff Carbon and the Marie's and the Conte Paris as far as dragging the hand across the drawing. A little bit of a smudging. Maybe the Marie's is a little bit more smeared. And that's with a single pass of the hand. So now let's look just with the blending of a finger and see what we have here. So we have that one. Then the next finger is it's clean finger because I don't want to use the same one. And then third finger. So it looks like the Marie's pencils are easier to manipulate as far as with the first pass of a hand, like you accidentally dragged your hand across the drawing, or manipulating intentionally with a finger, or maybe like a blending stump. But it definitely looks like the Marie's pencil sits a little bit softer on the page and is easy to manipulate versus the Wolff's Carbon or the Conte Paris. So next we're going to do fine lines. I'm going to start off with the Wolff's Carbon. Okay, so overall assessment of the fine lines. I think the Wolff's Carbon was probably the best as far as dexterity. The Marie's Soft, it seemed like I had to pull back on the pressure of the pencil to keep from making the lines too dark. In the Conte Paris, I noticed that it had a lot more kind of a grit feel or traction. So I had to push a little bit harder to get the pencil across the paper. The Wolff's Carbon was really smooth. Conte was a little bit rougher, and the Marie's, I had to pull back on the pressure just to keep from going too dark too fast. Okay, next let's do the blackout. I'm going as dark as I can. I'm going to make a little square for each one, starting off with the Wolff's Carbon. Okay, so it seems like the Wolff's Carbon went on really smooth, as well as the Marie's. The Conte Paris was a lot of grittiness and a little bit of a scratchy feel. So they're all pretty much about the same blackness. Maybe the Marie's is a little bit blacker. If I had to pick one, I would say the Marie's is probably a darker value. As far as the feel of it, as I was filling it in, Conte Paris is a really, really gritty and kind of like almost like a fingernails on a chalkboard. You can feel the little pieces of grit digging into the paper. The Wolff's is a lot smoother, and the Marie's went on a lot faster. It went to a black pretty quick. So I really like the Marie's and the Wolff's as far as going to the blackout versus the Conte. Okay, so next I'm going to do the erase test. I'm going to make like a gradation a little bit, like a rectangle, and then we'll come in and erase pieces off. So as far as drawing out the gradations for these three, it was the Conte of Paris that took a lot more time. It took a lot more time to get to that darkest dark versus the Wolff's Carbon or the Marie's. The Marie's was probably the fastest. It feels softer basically than these other two, and so it goes on faster. So now let's go and do our erase test. I'm going to do 3 different areas. I'll do one right in the middle. I'm using the Tombow Mono Zero eraser just because I can get a lot more control and push pretty hard. So I'm going to pretend like I'm trying to remove as much as possible. So let's just go in here and just try to pull out these different values. Let's go on the side over here, on the lighter side. Let's pull a big chunk out, and then finally on the darkest side. To me, it looks like the Conte of Paris did a little bit better on the erasing. It's really close anyway, but if I had to choose, I would go with the Conte of Paris as far as winning the erase test. Okay, so let's nerd out a little bit, and I got the scale. I'm going to start off with Wolff's carbon pencil, see how much it weighs. So we have 5.117. Now we'll try Mary's. So Mary's is 9.161. And Conte of Paris, 1710B, 7.517. Nice. So you can see that the Mary's is close to double the weight of the Wolff's Carbon, and the Conte of Paris is somewhere in between the two. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so we're on Amazon.com, and I'm looking at the Wolff's Carbon pencil, the 4B, and for a pack of 12, it's $35.88, which comes to $2.99 per pencil. Now we're looking at the Marie's soft pencil. For a pack of 12, it's $10.99, which puts us at 92 cents per pencil, which is pretty amazing compared to the previous one for sure. And now let's look at the Conte of Paris. And for that one, it is $33.48 for a box of 12, which is $2.79 per pencil. So it's a little bit better than that Wolff's Carbon, but still pretty expensive compared to the Marie's. So now let's check out how these 3 different pencils fare in the sharpening process. As most of you know, I use the razor blade, especially for the Conte of Paris, to get that really long exposure of the lead in a nice taper. So this is what I'm going for. This pencil doesn't fit in most of these electric pencil sharpeners anyway. It's has a thicker body, so it just doesn't fit in there. Plus, I can't get that really big exposure of the lead, which allows me to really just fill in large areas with tone really fast. And I sharpen the Wolff's Carbon pretty much the same way. I'm trying to get that big exposure of the lead in a nice taper, again, to fill in large areas with value. So to do that, you use the open razor blade. Now, my past week experience with the Marie's pencils have been quite interesting. I don't know, I just assumed that it would not do well with the open razor blade, and I used it in the electric pencil sharpener, and it actually gave me a pretty good exposure of the lead. I was really pleasantly surprised, and that has something to do with the how thick the lead is and compared to the wrap around it. So it allowed that pretty good exposure. And then so I did the portrait using this pencil sharpened with the electric pencil sharpener. And then it wasn't until after the portrait I was like, wait, I should at least try and test the pencil out using a razor blade. So the result really surprised me. It actually worked really well, better than the other pencils. I never hit like a hard spot versus a soft spot. The feeling of it is pretty soft, and it's like I said, very consistent. Whereas oftentimes with these, the Conte of Paris with the wood And even on the Wolff's Carbon has the same issue. As I'm cutting into the wood, sometimes I'll hit an anomaly or a hard spot, and it'll drive that blade really deep into the wood and causing a break in the lead, or just causing a lot of problems. So overall, using the razor blade to sharpen these three pencils, it worked best with the Marie, just like I said, because of that wood just comes off so well and so easily and very consistently. And the cool thing is you can actually use it in the electric pencil sharpener pretty well and actually get that long exposure of the lead that I'm looking for. Whereas these two, I'll definitely keep using the razor blade. Pretty cool to see that I can actually use either or, depending on how much lead I want to expose. Like I said, I drew a whole entire portrait, the one that's in the thumbnail, with this pencil here, just using electric pencil sharpener. So it really didn't matter if I spent the extra time with the traditional sharpening technique, or just use the electric sharpener. Either one worked really well. Let's run through the scorecard, starting off with the weight. I give it to Wolff's Carbon for the 5.1. That's the lowest weight, and I prefer a lighter pencil. Next we have the price, and of course that goes to Marie's because that's an awesome price, less than $1 a pencil. The smudge test, I give that to Marie's as well. Fine lines definitely go to Wolff's Carbon. The blackout test was a tie between Wolff's Carbon and Marie's. Erase test goes to Conte Paris. The sharpening goes to Marie's. So let's add all of that up. So we got 3 for Wolff's Carbon, 4 for Marie's, and 1 for Conte Paris. So the Conte Paris has these kind of like little hard stones inside the lead, inside the Conte, and it tears into the paper often. And sometimes it happens pretty quick and you don't realize it's happening until it's too late. And that's the case with this portrait here. You can see some of these lines are not intentional as far as how hard they are. They're actually deep scratches into the paper. There's some over here, there's some up. Well, actually I think these were intentional after the fact, because what happens is sometimes when you're putting in value with this pencil, it'll start to tear into the paper. And in this case, what I did, instead of trying to fix that or trying to work around it, I decided to go ahead and keep using the same pencil and trying to use that grit to my advantage, at least trying to use it to create texture basically throughout the portrait. I got lucky in that it happened down here a little bit, but it didn't occur in the light side of the face. That would have been a lot more problematic if it happened in the light side versus the dark side. It's sort of a love-hate relationship with this pencil. I love how it erases so easily. It doesn't smear as easily if my hand comes across, but sometimes you do get anomalies in the lead and have to kind of either work with it or work around it. The Wolff's Carbon is a lot silkier and smoother than the Conte Paris. It does get some grit in the Conte, not as much as the Conte Paris. The thing I like about this pencil is, besides the smoothness, is also the control with the fine lines, and just overall dexterity is really good. So I was quite surprised with the Marie's. I really like this pencil. I'm going to keep using it. I really like how it builds up value very quickly and also blends really smoothly. It just feels a lot silkier and smoother than the Conte Paris, and even a little bit more than the Wolff's Carbon. Even if the price was the same as the other two pencils, I'd probably still pick Marie. In this case, it's pretty awesome that it's only 92 cents compared to the nearly $3 pencil on the other ones. If you haven't drawn with this one yet, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And thank you to whoever told me to try this pencil. I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody in the live stream a few weeks ago, and I really appreciate it. This is a really awesome pencil. So I would place the Conte Paris in the 3rd spot. It's a good pencil overall. I've been using it for about, 10 years now. I really like it, but it does have some issues with it. 2nd place, I'll give it to Wolff's Carbon. It's a really nice pencil to work with. It's very smooth and it's very light in the hand. And this portrait is actually from my drawing courses. If you purchase one of the courses, this demo is one of the 3 demos that'll come free of charge. So check that out in the link below. For the first place, we'll go to Marie's. It's a really awesome pencil. I was really surprised by it. Even if the price wasn't so cheap, let's say the price was the same as the other two, I would still pick this one. It is a nice bonus that the price is right. It's less than $1 per pencil, whereas the other two are close to $3. So that means a lot. That really adds up over the course of a year of drawing. I don't know how many packs of pencils I'll probably go through a year, but that definitely adds up. So I highly recommend all three of these pencils, but especially the Marie's. If you've never used that one before, give it a shot and try it out. I think you'll really enjoy it. So thanks guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. Check out the drawing course link below. If you purchase either one of the courses, whether it's the rhythms of the head, proportions, or the anatomy course, it'll come with 3 free portrait demos as well. Thanks again guys, and see ya.